Hey everyone, so today we are building something really cool. We are creating custom haptics in the React Native using Expo. Now if you have ever used an iPhone and pressed a button and felt that little satisfying click, that's not just random vibration. Apple actually built a whole engine for this, and it is called as Core Haptics. It let you control the exactly how strong a tap feels, how sharp it is, and you can even chain multiple taps together to create the patterns like a heartbeat or a Morse code or whatever you want really. Basically the problem is if you are using Expo right now, the built-in Expo haptics package is super limited. You get like 3 options only: light, medium, heavy, and that's basically it. You can't control the intensity, you can't control the sharpness, and you definitely can't build your own custom patterns. So what we are going to do today is build our own native modules. We will write actual Swift code for the iOS and Kotlin for the Android, and then we will bridge it to JavaScript so we can use it in our React Native app. And the best part we are going to do today is all of this without ejecting. Everything stays inside the Expo ecosystem. By the end of this video, you will have an app with like 7 different sections: impact feedback, notifications feedback, an intensity slider, a sharpness comparison, 5 custom patterns, and even a pattern builder where you can tap to record your own haptics pattern and replay it. So alright, let's jump into the code. So first thing we need to do is like starting with creating a expo project. So I am going to use the blank TypeScript template because that's what I always go with. So let me write the command npx create expo app, create expo app, and let's give it a name as custom haptics and hyphen template and TypeScript. Great, so our app is installed. Let me get to the app directory. I will enter into the app directory custom haptics and let me press the enter. So now let's install the reanimated. So basically we will use this later for the button animations, and you don't need it for the haptic themselves, but honestly it makes the whole things feel so much better when you press a button and it actually bounces. So let me run the command npx expo install react native reanimated. It will install our reanimated library. Great, it is installed. Now let's talk about the fun part. We need to create the actual native modules. Expo has a command for this, and let me run this command npx expo. So basically the command is npx create expo module at latest hyphen local. So basically it's gonna ask us a couple of things. For the name, put expo custom haptics, expo custom haptics. Let me press the enter. Also press the enter over here. Let me press the enter. Let me show you what we got. I will open this folder. So inside this modules folder we have expo custom haptics folder, and inside that we can see iOS and Android directory. So basically iOS folder is with a Swift file and an Android folder is with the Kotlin file, and in this index.ts file, that's our JavaScript bridge, and which will help us to connect both the iOS and Android code together. And then we have this little expo module.config.json file that basically tells expo, hey, here is where my native code lives. Right now all these files have boilerplate code, and we are gonna replace everything with the real haptic stuff. So let's start with the Swift. So I will come to the iOS directory. Alright, so this is the most important file in the whole project. So right now I am in the expo custom haptic view.swift file. So I will do one thing. I will quickly write the code for this file, then I will explain you quickly what all this file contains. So first thing first, the imports. We need the three things. Expo module core. So this is the Expo's bridge framework, and it's what lets Swift talk to the JavaScript. Then we have Core Haptics, Apple's advanced haptic API. This is where the magic happens. And then we have UI kit for the simpler haptic generator. Now every Expo module starts with the same way. You create a class that extends module, and inside you have this definition function. Think of it as your menu. Whatever you put in here is what JavaScript can see and call. So the first thing we add is name, and the name is the Expo Custom Haptics. This name has to match exactly what we use on the JavaScript side. If this don't match, nothing will going to work. Then we set up on create function. This runs when the module first load. We are gonna start the haptic engine here, so it's ready to go when the user taps something. If you start the engine on the first tap instead, there is a noticeable delay and it feels like janky. So let's write our first function, which is impact. This is the simplest haptic API Apple which is given us. So we define the function impact. That's the name JavaScript will call, and it takes a style string like light or heavy. Inside we dispatch to the main queue because UI kit requires it. Create a UI impact feedback generator with the style we want, and we can call prepare to warm up the hardware, and then impact occur to the actually fire the haptics. So basically this prepare call is interesting. What it does, it pre-warms the haptic engine. Without it, the first tap might have a tiny delay. With it, the haptic fires instantly when you need it. Then the five styles are light, medium, heavy, soft and rigid. Light is like a subtle little tick. Heavy is a solid third. Soft feels kind of rounded, and the rigid feels sharp and stiff. We map the string from the JavaScript to the Swift enum with the simple switch statement. So the next function is notify. This one is different because it's semantic. Instead of telling the system how the haptic should feel, you tell it what it means. So success has this satisfying little double tap fail. Warning is kind of unsettling, and the error is that strong buzz that makes you go, oh, something went wrong. And the cool thing is Apple decides the exact field for each device. It's slightly different on an iPhone 14 versus on an iPhone 16. The code is almost the same as impact, create a generator, prepare, fire, but we use UI notification feedback generator instead. Now we will talk about the is supported function. This is a quick one. We just ask Core Haptic if the hardware support haptics. Returns fall on the simulator. Old iPhones without a haptic engine. Some iPads. On a modern iPhone it returns true. Okay, now the big one, the play pattern function. This is where we go from the basic to advanced. Instead of picking a preset, we are building our own haptic patterns from the scratch. Each step in the pattern has three properties. First is the intensity. The first one is the intensity. How strong the tap feels from 0 to 1. 0 is nothing, 1 is the absolute max. Then we have the sharpness, how crisp it feels. 0 is like a dull third, 1 is a sharp click. Then we will talk about the time. When this event fires in seconds from the start. So if the time is 0.12, it fires 120 milliseconds after the pattern starts. So basically this is an async function instead of a regular function, because the engine needs a moment to process the pattern and the JavaScript awaits for the result. Inside the function, first we click if the haptics are supported. If not, we fall back to the basic impact so the user feels something. When we make sure the engine is running, because it can stop if the app goes to the background. Then we loop through the steps with the intensity and sharpness as a parameter, and a relative time for when it fires the event type is the haptic transit, that means a brief tap like touching a surface. Then finally what we can do, we will bundle all the events into a chaptic pattern and that create a player from it and start it. The pattern plays immediately and that's the whole Swift file. 4 functions, 1 engine, and suddenly we have full control over our haptics. I will talk about the Android one really quickly. So we have to come to the expo custom haptics module .kt file in the Android folder. So I will open the Java folder and inside that you can see this file. So Android's haptic world is different from the iOS, and the big difference you can see is there is no sharpness concept on the Android. That's an Apple thing only, and Android only gives you the intensity control. And I will do one thing. I will quickly write the code for this file and explain. I will explain you quickly what this file do actually. And you can simply copy paste this code from my GitHub repo, which will I will add in the description of this video. So basically for impact and notify we can use vibration effect dot create predefined function which gives us effect tick, effect click, effect heavy click, and effect double click. We map our style names to this as best we can, like soft map to tick and rigid map to heavy click. It's not the perfect match, but it's close enough. For custom patterns, Android has the composition API, like vibration effect dot start composition function. But here is the catch, it only works on the API 30 and above, which is Android 11. For older devices, we just fall back to a single click. And the one annoying thing about the Android is how you get the vibrator service. On API 31 and above, you need to go through the vibrator manager. On older versions, you use the deprecated vibrator service directly. So there is this whole if else for just getting access to the vibrator. The rest is pretty straightforward. For each step in the pattern, we add primitive click with the intensity and delay, then compose and vibrate. Now let's connect everything on the JS side, that is JavaScript. So we are inside the index.ts file. This file is honestly really simple. So I will do one thing, then I will explain you what this file do actually. We have const native module requires native module, and inside that we have expo custom haptics. So that's it. Require native modules looks for the module by the name we registered in the Swift and the Kotlin. If it finds it, then great. All the functions we defined are now available as native module.impact, native module.notify, and so on. The rest of the file is just TypeScript and the types wrappers functions. The file is just TypeScript types and wrapper functions. We define impact style as a union of the 5 options: light, medium, heavy, soft, rigid. Same for the notification type and haptic step is the shape of each event in the custom pattern. Then each exported function is just a one-liner that calls the native module, like export function impact style, and inside the curly braces we have native module impact style. That's all the bridge code you need. And the one important thing is the play pattern returns a promise void because we used a sync function on the native side and the rest of the things are synchronous. Now it's time to build the UI components. So basically we have done the native side and it's time to build the UI. I have split everything into the separate components and then we are going to import everything in the app.tsx file. So this is the entry point of the app and it composes all the haptic demo sections into a scrollable screen. So I will do one thing, I will just remove this boilerplate template code and I will write rnfes. So we have our template ready. So I will tell you the app has the 7 sections basically, each demonstrating a different level of the haptic API. Basically first one is impact, then notification, intensity, sharpness, pattern builder, and then device check. So what we can do, we will start importing our native module which we built. So I will start import. So yeah, so as you can see AI suggested our native module. So let me press just tab. One is remaining, that is notification type. No, so tab and save it. Impact styles, impact underscore styles, and let me press the tab. So we will have our all the impact style, and I can remove this as const. Let me save it. After this we have all three notification types. These are semantic haptics, where the OS describes the exact field. So I will write const notify types notify, and let me press the tab. Inside the app function, we will first check on whichever device we are going to run this app, does that app support the core haptics or not. So let me write const supported, and this will check if that device supports the core haptics. I will come into the return function, and inside this also one more thing, I am not going to write the CSS right now, so you can just simply copy paste this CSS from the repo itself, and I will also copy paste this CSS. So inside the CSS there is a platform which we are using for the device responsiveness, so we can import that from the React Native itself. Now I will start writing the code. So first at the beginning we will have a status bar. Let me write status bar, and we are going to use a light style, and for the view I will give a styles.root. Then we use scroll view, and we have to import this scroll view as well. And inside the scroll view, basically we will have, instead of this style, we can use container style. Will give show vertical scroll indicator to the false. After this I will give a heading to the app as text custom haptics, and I will give a style of styles.head. After that we have to show which native API we are using per platform, and that I will import the text, and inside the text I will write expo-module API, expo-module API, and inside this style.tagline. After that, as we have to show which native API we are using per platform, platform.os equals to iOS, and if it supports, then it is going to show the core haptics. The vibration effect. Let me press tab, and let's save it. Also we are going to add a status badge which show, and let's say if that is green, then it means like it has advanced haptic availables on that device. So let me quickly write that function. Now it's time to create our components. So first of all I will do one thing, create one components folder. So I'm going to create all the components which we are going to use inside this project. So first component I will create is haptic card.tsx. Then the next component is intensity playground.tsx, intensity playground. And the next one is pattern builder.tsx. Then we have section.tsx, and last one is sharpness comparison.tsx. Also we have one more file, pattern.tsx. So first thing I am going to talk about the haptic card. So basically this is going to be an animated button we use everywhere. So I will do one thing, I will quickly write up the code for this component, then I will explain you what this component actually do. So it uses the reanimated for the two things, a scale up animation and a border flash. When you press down, the card shrinks to the 95% with a spring animation, and when you let go it bounces back, and when the tap registers the border flashes green for a split seconds. And the key thing here is use shared value. These values lives on the UI thread, not the JavaScript thread. So the animation run at the 60 fps no matter what. Even if your JavaScript thread is busy, the animation stays smooth. And for the flash, I am using the with sequence. So basically with sequence, it changes two animations together. First, it goes to full opacity in 80 milliseconds, then fade back to 0 over 300 milliseconds. The reason I am doing both visual and haptic feedback is because that's what makes an app feel premium. The haptic alone isn't enough, and your brain expects to see the button reacts too. And now the next one, the intensity card. So basically this is going to be the fun. It is basically a bar chart where each bar fires a different intensity. The bars go from the 10% to 100%, and they are sized proportionally. So the taller bar is the stronger haptic. When you tap each bar, it sends a single haptic event with that intensity and a fixed sharpness of 0.8. So you can feel the just the intensity difference in the isolation. Out this code. Also I am using a press state from the pressable to change the color when you tap, and turns bright green so you know which one you hit. And the next one is the sharpness comparison.tsx. This is the companion to the intensity, same idea, but now we are varying the sharpness while keeping the intensity fixed at 0.8. In this code you can see we have 5 options: dull at 0.0 and soft at 0.3 and the medium at 0.5 and sharp at 0.8 and the crisp at the 1. This is honestly the best way to understand what sharpness does. Tap dull, then tap crisp, and the difference is super obvious. Dull feels rounded like pressing into clay. Crisp feels like tapping glass. And quick note is that like this is an iOS only parameter. On Android, all of these things will feel the same because Android doesn't have the sharpness controls. Then I will tell you about this pattern.ts file. So and then I will explain you this pattern.ts file. So basically this file has all our custom haptic patterns. Each one is just an array of steps, intensity, sharpness and time. I like to think of it like sheet music. Each note has a volume, a tone and a position in time. Together they create a haptic melody. The heartbeat pattern has two quick pulses closest together, a pause, then two more, low sharpness, so it feels organic, like you are actually feeling a pulse. The SOS pattern does more code, 3 short taps, 3 long ones, 3 short again, different intensity between the dots and dashes. I will talk about the raindrops. And this is my favorite. It has randomized filling intensities and the irregular timings. Some drops are heavy, some are barely there. It feels natural, not mechanical. Then we have crescendo. Okay, so it builds from nothing to maximum. Both intensity and the sharpness ramp up together. Great for like a loading indicator or a powering up effect. And the typewriter is quick crisp. So basically it gives you a crisp taps that ramps up then trail off. High sharpness because keyboard feel sharp and mechanical. Now the last one I will talk about the pattern builder.tsx. So this is the interactive one. I will save this haptic card code as well. Then inside the pattern builder, this is the interactive one. You tap a big dashed area to record your own pattern, then hit replay to fill it back. How it works: first tap starts a timer. Every tap after that records how many seconds you have passed since the first tap. We store each tap as a haptic step with the timestamp, and when you hit replay, we send the whole array to play pattern function. The cool thing is you can tap out any rhythm, a drum beat, a ringtone pattern and whatever, and then replay it as an actual haptic. It really drives home the point that patterns are just data. And the last one is the section.tsx. Basically this is just a simple layout component which has the title and the optional description and children's. It don't has any, and this is the code for the section. You can see. Now I will come inside the app.tsx file. So inside this, now we need to import our all the components together, and this is, and they are going to check if the haptics are supported with is supported, and renders 7 sections in a scrollable view. Each section shows a different level of the haptic API from the simple present all the way up the pattern builder. So you can basically check out this code as well, like where we are importing all our components with the section wrapped. Now it's time to run our app, and I will go to the custom haptics directory, and here I will run npm start. So basically the thing is, it is not going to work. So right now we are running the app on the simulator, and you can see is supported is showing the false, because right now we are running on the simulator and it is not going to support on the simulator. So basically if you are going to run this app on your actual device, real device, so it is going to work perfectly fine. I tried on my real device and it was working perfectly fine. So I will explain you about the sections which we created. First section has the impact feedback, and when you tap through all 5, light is super subtle, medium is default, heavy is a solid thumb, soft feels kind of cushioned, and rigid is stiff and sharp. Notification section success has this nice done feeling, and warning makes you pause, error is like nope. Intensity control, I will go from 10 to 100%, and you can literally feel it getting stronger with each bar. 10% is barely there, 100% is full power. Sharpness, these all have the same strength but different crispiness. Dull, crisp, totally different feel even though they are the same intensity. Then we have the custom patterns, heartbeat. You will feel that 2 taps, pause, 2 taps, like an actual pulse. SOS dot dash 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 dot raindrops, then random little taps. And the pattern builder let me tap out a rhythm, 3 quick taps, now replay, and that is it. My own custom haptic, pretty strict. So basically that's it, a full custom haptic system in the expo. No ejecting needed. We wrote the Swift, we wrote the Kotlin code, we bridged it to the JavaScript, and we built a whole demo app around it. And the takeaway here is that the expo module API is really powerful. Anytime you hit a wall with what expo gives you out of the box, you can just write your own native module, haptic, sensor, Bluetooth, whatever. If there is a native API for it, you can access it. If you want to take this further, try creating your own patterns, a drum roll, a notification chime, a game feedback effect. Just change the numbers in the pattern array and see what feels good. I will leave the full source code in the description below. This help you out, drop a like and subscribe for more React Native content. See you in the next one.